Thank you all. Thank you, Gustav, Carolina, Antonio. Well, I'm going to go, super focused on the main question, right? We have 4,000 million just for digitalization of public institutions just in Spain. And we know that it's a top agenda and a top goal for a top priority for the rest of the governments in the Union. So there is a lot of money, a great opportunity to improve service delivery for citizens, also efficiencies and so on, but also a great opportunity for businesses. And great opportunity for businesses such as the ones that we are seeing here at the South Summit today. But in any case, we know as well that it's not easy, right? I mean, there are some procurement barriers and so on. And what we feel is that the game is not changing. What I mean with this is that still there is a lot of money now, but the rules are the same, the way to buy is the same. So what we think is that there is a lot of money for the same players. What's your opinion on that? I mean, it's a tricky question, I guess, right? Because we know that these things are not, it's not about money, actually, it's about many other changes that governments need to make and to promote. So we have here two representatives from the government of Denmark, Gustav and Carolina from the government of Spain. Is there any way to channel a little bit or a bit of these huge funds to this kind of startups, scale up, and impact the innovation community?
Yeah.
The question, I guess, right?
The question is for me, from an outsider, the importance is to use the startups as the good ideas, to make sure that all the traditional way of transforming your society, when it's digital, you need to be able to build small and scale it so you can use this in all government, in all local governments and in regional governments. It's okay to sit here in Madrid and say we want to build something for the whole nation, but it's actually better if it starts local and then you can scale it up to the next city or to the next region. And that's where the startups, I think, have a stronger way of getting into the market. Because if you have to build a big national IT program, I don't think many of the startups can lift it. And then you end up with the old ones, and then you do it the old way, and you don't get the transformation that we're actually looking for here in Madrid.
Actually, totally agree with that. Our experience has been much easier to have these kind of pilots and these processes with the startups, the scale up with municipalities, with cities and regions, that, of course, in the national level. But what do you think about this, Carolina?
Well, first of all, I'm very honored to share this panel with all of you. As the High Commissioner mentioned before, explained, innovative entrepreneurship is a key driver of our country's transformation. And in Spain, we have already the first steps already set. This huge framework that is our national strategy, the Spain Entrepreneurial Nation Strategy. And we have this milestone on the recovery plan that is this strategy, and we have been working on the Startup Act that will be very, very important to advance in this process and to progress, to facilitate an environment of regulations that can be good, interesting for the startups, the scale-ups, and to transform the economy. And we are working with the ministries in the development of this strategy, and we have measures that are looking at the problems we have to access these public procurements, for example. But this is only a part of the problem. We have to keep the role of the state as an early adopter of innovative solutions, and these frameworks are going to help us to do that with pilots, with sandboxes. The financial sandbox was approved last year. There are more sectors coming. So we have the instruments in this context to develop these these opportunities for the startups, the emerging companies in general. And from the High Commissioner, we are working very hard at looking for opportunities for these kind of companies, connect them with the administration, with the ministries, with the state-owned companies to look for these opportunities and to connect them with the public sector. It's not easy for the emerging companies to communicate, to share ideas or projects they want to present to the public sector. So we are helping to do these connections and looking after opportunities.
That is great to know that you are doing this, because actually what we always say is that procurement is an issue, but it's not the only barrier, right? I mean, having these common spaces for startups and civil servants to know each other, to have, I mean, that conversation, that experimentation together is what afterwards could help to inform future tendering processes, future demand from public institutions and so on. So it's great to know that you are doing that work. Of course, Antonio, we need to know the view of an entrepreneur, of a startup that is already working with a lot of public institutions. I believe that a lot of cities as well, as we were talking, not just in the national level, also internationally, Latin America and so on. So what's your view on this? I mean, how are you seeing as an opportunity these European recovery funds as a startup, as a business?
Yes, thank you very much. Absolutely. The short answer is yes. We are very optimistic about these funds. Actually, our company was founded under the umbrella of a European-funded research and development project, and from then on, we have maintained a steady flow of European-funded research projects, and these have allowed us to push forward our technology, and they have funded the development of cutting-edge tools that we actually use. So when the next-gen package came out, we were very excited and we were very optimistic. However, truth be told, we have seen that over the past months, large, enormous companies have agglutinated most viable opportunities, turning them into multi-million projects with scores of participants and rendering small and medium enterprises into something meaningless, really. So I have not seen any specific instruments directed at small and medium enterprises. There may be grants, but we're not talking about business, really. So I think there might be room for improvement if some mechanism was developed and implemented to ensure that small tech companies can access directly some of those funds, instead than doing so through the charity of large organizations. That is where we are right now.
That's interesting that you are saying that, because my next and I think last question was about these specific channels, right? What we have seen the last 5-6 years in different countries, also internationally, not just in Europe, is that some countries that they really believe that it's important to get that innovation from these kind of new providers are creating pre-procurement processes where they can create this, as we said before, these common spaces where public servants, public institutions can see what is out there and ask for it in an tendering process, right? So we see that in Denmark, for instance, you have a program such as this one. I mean, I think that you started 2-3 years ago doing that, so it would be great to know a little bit more about that. And Carolina, it's something super new. It's just in the plan, but we know that the government of Spain has said, or said, I'm sure that they are going to do it because it's in the plan, that they are going to create a GovTech lab here for the government of Spain. So I know that it's not in your case, let's say, but I'm sure that you know a little bit about that. So can you tell us about these two things, or these specific ways or approaches to try to get together these startups and governments?
First of all, I understand what you're saying right now, and it is super difficult also for startups to compete with bigger, larger companies, because they love the tendering process, because already there, 200,000 euros are just flying away to make paper. Second of all, so how can the government help? I think the government actually should be able to make hubs where, first of all, small and medium-sized businesses are protected against the big companies with making access to data. So data has to be free. So if the government owns data, they should be able to tell the big companies, we want not only to rent this data from you, we actually want the ownership so everybody can use it fair and square. Then you can compete. Otherwise, you'll have big companies who all the time will push the small ones away because they will say, we want 20 euros every time you go into our database, and when they access their database themselves, they say 0 euros for us. Of course, they will always win. So how can we make it more fair to make startups compete against the big companies? Because we need it. They have better ideas in the smaller companies than they have in the big ones.
Carolina, very short, sorry.
Yeah, the Laboratory Innovación is under the umbrella of the Spanish Digital Agenda 2025 from the Ministry of Economic Affairs. And just one line is the use of advanced technologies to transform public services. So I think it will be
looking forward to see
a very, very good opportunity.
What's coming with the GovTech Lab in the government of Spain. Thank you so much. It has been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.